Real News with Katie Nathan. Hello, fellow Americans, and to all my friends around the world. I'm so glad that you decided to come back and get the real news about the school chaos and what's going on. What is our leadership doing to help us in this time of school closing, reopening, virtual, able to get online, not able to get online? Here we are, and I'm about to give you the facts about what's really going on as it pertains to our children, the leadership of this country, and our schools. So let's get started. Here we go. I want to talk about first. Now, President Trump has released his second term agenda this week, and in it he included the plan to provide school choice to every child in America. Quote by the president, he says, "I have long been an advocate of school choice because it gives our most disadvantaged students an immediate escape valve and the chance to join a school and culture that changes the trajectory of their lives. And that escape valve is now needed by more families more urgently than ever before." Can you tell I'm just so passionate about what's going on right now? This news is exciting as we keep going on. So I always love to give examples about real world American things that are going on. So right now I want to pinpoint to our great state of Wisconsin. God bless America and Wisconsin. So here we go. Now to that point what the president just stated. This past Friday night at 5 p.m., when many Wisconsin families were outside enjoying one of the last summer weekends before their kids had to return to school, the liberal Basin of Dane County issued Emergency Order Number 9. That order mandated that all schools in the county begin instruction for grades 3 to 12 virtually, effective only 60 hours before it was issued on Monday, August 24th. What was to be the first day of in-person school for many private school students in the county, despite working tirelessly for months to create a safe environment for the kids to go back to in-person learning, private school personnel, students, and their families were thrown into turmoil upon the last second announcement only 60 hours before, which seems to have the goal of many policymakers. I have a quote and a statement from Catholic Bishop Donald Hying of Wisconsin. He lives in Madison, which is the largest city in Dane County. He wrote a blunt letter on August 23rd stating, "On numerous occasions since early July, county officials were asked to provide the metrics that would be used regarding the closing and opening of the schools regarding to the COVID-19. These were not provided until the Friday before school was set to start that following Monday. So many of you Americans who had already gone back to work with the added hardship of finding childcare. Many of us had few, if any, options given this order so quickly." The bishop continued, "I witnessed this discord firsthand on August 10th. I was inside the school that day and saw the thoughtful social distancing precautions that had taken for our children. Unfortunately, the leaders of the school also struggled to get timely information from Dane County officials in advance of opening their schools. Nonetheless, they forged ahead and they were ready to offer their students safe learning environment at a critical time." Good job to the schools of Dane County. Good job. But unfortunately, and the media doesn't tell you this, but here on the real news, America's public school teachers' unions have demanded that schools remain physically closed, that police forces be defunded, and that unrealistic COVID testing policies be implemented before they will even consider returning their members to work. So, while COVID-19 is a real health threat to be taken seriously, these unions do not seem to care about that it is the most disadvantage, really, to our students in our nation who will be the most negatively impacted by their decisions to keep the schools and the facilities closed. Our nation's children, America, and policymakers are not your political props or your hostages. Schools should, of course, practice reasonably social distancing and take responsible health precautions when returning to in-person instruction. However, far from helping to create a safe environment, the intentional act of adding uncertainty to the lives and education of students, as in the case of Dane County, is unacceptable. Now, to be clear, this is not the teachers that are demanding that schools be closed until police are defunded and all these unrealistic things for COVID take place. It is the unions and the bureaucrats that are behind this, pushing this. Put simply, now for the good part. There is a path forward. Americans, there is always hope. Despite what you hear, despite what is going on, there is still a God on the throne, and we have a wonderful president currently in the White House. President Trump, along with sensible federal and state lawmakers, can provide us clarity, reduce educational costs, and simultaneously enable parents to make the right choice for your kids. The irresponsible actions of teachers' unions across our country and left-wing public officials in places like Madison, Wisconsin, have simply increased our urgency and need for action. With that being said, I would like to end with a letter from Betsy DeVos. She wrote a back-to-school letter for all American families. Betsy DeVos is the 11th and current U.S. Secretary of Education since 2017. She is known for her support in schools, her school voucher programs, and charter schools. Thank you, Betsy, for doing the best that you can, working with the president and the lawmakers to help get our kids safely back into school. Letter from Betsy. Mom and dads across America, it's back to school season, but it sure feels different than any other year. So let's talk about something that's been weighing heavily on your minds and mine. How can students, your sons, your daughters, safely continue to learn and grow this fall? I know many of you are overwhelmed and really tired of all those emotions. They're understandable. This has been hard on everyone. You were disappointed last spring when your kids couldn't finish the school year with their friends. Your heart broke when you saw your son crying because he was so frustrated with virtual learning that too often doesn't seem to work. You tried your best to step up to the plate by becoming a full-time teacher yourself, and in addition to keeping your day job, all the while worrying about your family's health and safety. But now, as we approach fall, you're told you may have to go alone again, and it's a lot. But it doesn't have to be this way. I know many of you are now more attuned to what your child needs to learn and thrive. So some of you, with the time, means, and resources, are getting creative. You formed learning pods, you've hired tutors, you've made the decision to homeschool. You've converted a corner, a room, or a basement into a makeshift one-room schoolhouse. Good job, parents. Some of you are fortunate enough to be able to access a different school that is open, and you're trying to enroll your children there and are stretching to pay for it. You're doing what's best for your child, and that's what us parents do. But far too many of our nation's parents, maybe you or someone you know, are stuck with no option, no help, and no way out. That's why the President, Donald Trump, and the U.S. Secretary of Education are fighting every day for more options for every student and every family this fall. Every family needs to be able to do what is right for their child. Their money should follow their students, and our schools exist because you pay for them. And you should be empowered to put your money to better use if your school isn't meeting your needs. That starts with schools being open. Now, let's be clear on at least one thing just right now. No one is suggesting that every single child must be behind a desk inside of a classroom, or that health realities on the ground won't cause temporary disruptions. We know that. We do, however, believe that, as the rule, schools must be open for in-person learning as an option for families who want it or need it. More broadly, we believe families need more options than ever for the right fit. So, if you want or need to send your child to school in person, we support you. We support additional emergency federal tax-paying funding to support schools that safely reopen and offer in-person instruction. If virtual learning is best for your family, we support you too. We have set aside significant taxpayer funding to support improvements in distant education and other innovative models. Now, if you want to attend a school other than your government-assigned public school, we also support you. President Trump and the U.S. Secretary of Education, in whose letter that I'm reading, support Senator Tim Scott's School Choice Now Act, which will provide scholarships to families to choose the best educational setting for your child. Now, this is about students and families, but teachers, you are also on the minds of the president, and we are working tirelessly for you too. So here are some options for teachers and educators as well. If you want to teach in person, we support you. We've provided $13 billion in emergency taxpayer funding for PPE, cleaning, training, and coordination to make sure that you have a safe learning environment to teach in. Now, if your health requires you to teach virtually, we support you, teachers and educators. We have proposed more flexible and personalized funding for professional development to improve teacher preparation. At the end of the day, we want everyone to have the choices and make the best decisions that fit best for you and your family. Some may choose to learn at home. Some may choose to return back to school. Some may choose to do a combination of both. Each of your needs will be able to choose what's best for your family because you know your children and their circumstances better than anyone. Your child, your school, your way, because you're the one paying for it. No matter what you choose for your family and for your children, we want it to be effective and safe. So let me close in this. Let's just look at the facts. Here's what doctors, scientists, and data, common sense, tell us all. Dr. Robert Redfield heads up the Center for the CDC. He recently testified that it is in the public health interest of these K through 12 students to get these schools back open for face-to-face learning. And by now, we all know that Dr. Anthony Fauci, he said that in-person learning this fall is important for children because of the psychological benefit. Now, researchers from the University of Virginia and Brown University found an alarming projection. They say that students are likely to return this fall with only 2/3 of the gains in reading, and a projection from a leading consulting firm shows that will only worsen. Months and months of learning lost without access to high-quality, full-time instruction. Now, what does this all translate to? This translates to a lifetime of negative impacts on our children and loss of learning. Now, this COVID crisis can potentially intensify feelings of fear like never before. But let me suggest to you something that can trump fear, and that is faith. We as parents know the tension between fear and faith all too well. So we can choose, parents, to be fearful or to trust by faith. Let us rely on God Almighty in this time of uncertainty, and just know that President Trump and the American leaders, at least those currently on the right side, and again, I'm not for a party right or left, I'm for Jesus Christ. It's just the facts, and I'm here to report the truth. So rely on God and remember, your strength comes from the Lord.